Hello YouTube! I'm Drominicus, and this is the 4th episode of my show Thorsday. Now, I realize that it's not Thursday, it's actually Friday, but I do have a good reason for not having posted it yesterday. I did have some family up for my birthday, as it was my birthday earlier this week. They were up for a little while, so I was hanging out and enjoying my time with them. So I do apologize for not posting this earlier, as I was going to. But on the upshot, unless anything crazy happens, I'm going to continue posting back on schedule as of next week, so you can look forward to that. So yes, today on Thursday, I'm going to be taking a look at that ever so awesome Greek goddess known as Athena. So I do hope that you guys enjoy today's episode, and stay tuned, for later today, because I plan on posting my next episode of Wordwise, and for next week for more episodes from moi. Alright, so you guys have a great one and enjoy today's episode. Athena has gone by many different names in the past depending on where she was worshipped, and in Greece she had gone by several different epithets, one of which was Pallas Athena, and another nickname was Glaukopus. Now, Glaukopus meant flashing eyes, which she was referred to as in Homer's epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey. Now, she was also known as Athene, Athene. As for the origin of her actual name, it's thought to have been basically applied to an old god by the Athenians so that they would have a goddess named after their city to become the patron deity. The depiction of Athena is often that of an armor-clad woman bearing the Aegis shield in one hand and a spear in the other. Now, she is shown sometimes as having an owl perched on her shoulder, as that is essentially her sacred animal. Now, the significance of the armor is twofold. One is to distinguish her as a warrior goddess. Now, she's not sort of a raging battle fury sort of warrior like Ares may be shown as. However, she is a battle tactician. That's more what she's known for, is being on the field of battle, aiding where she can, and she is a protector and definitely a tactician of sorts. Now, the other part of the armor is to give her sort of a gender neutrality. It doesn't emphasize her femininity, but it does actually mute that a little bit. The reason for that is because of the fact that she is, in fact, a virgin goddess. She is one of the goddesses who is a virgin, and that is significant because it helps distinguish her from other goddesses, such as Aphrodite, who is more sexually charged, who is more representative of that sexual aspect of womanhood, whereas Athena is more representative of one of the virgin stages. So that would be the reason why she is armor-clad. So it's the twofold, both warrior and virgin, is why she has that. More often than not, you're going to see her wearing her armor. Sometimes she is shown wearing more like robes and whatnot, but more often than not with armor, and that's why. While she is worshipped all over Greece, Athena, of course, is the patron deity of Athens. And as discussed previously, the reason for that is, from what we can find, is that the Athenian people took an ancient god and put their hometown name over top of the name of the ancient god, and basically turned her into what we now know as Athena. And as for the mythological reasons as to why she is the patron deity, I will discuss later in my mythos section. While there are several symbols associated with Athena, there are three that come up frequently. The first being the owl. Now, the owl has been depicted with her several times perched on her shoulder, and basically has become her sacred animal, thus it's only natural it become one of her symbols. The second is the olive tree. Now, the reason for the olive tree actually arises from one of her myths, which I will be discussing a little bit later. And the third is the Aegis shield. Now, the Aegis shield is a shield that was made of goatskin and bronze, and was used by Perseus to help slay the Gorgon Medusa. And because of this, the head of Medusa is often shown on on the very center of the Aegis, which helped to strike fear in the hearts of men because, of course, Medusa was said to be able to turn men to stone with one gaze, so naturally people are going to be afraid of the shield. So yes, the Aegis, the owl, and the olive tree are the three more prominent symbols. Athena's domains, much like many other gods at the time, were many and varied. Now, we can narrow them down to a particular few, as they do appear more often than the others. Now, those domains include wisdom, warfare, crafts, in particular weaving, and invention. Now, you may be wondering why it is that weaving is in there. It seems a little bit strange, but when you consider it in the context of ancient Greece, it makes a lot of sense, because weaving was actually seen as the activity of a good wife. So a wife who is doing her weaving is being an obedient good wife and is not causing any trouble, and so that was one of the main domains of Athena. And in fact, it did actually come up in a particular myth dealing with a woman who I will discuss a little bit later. Worship of Athena took place in many different forms. However, there are two notable forms that took place. The first was at the temple to Athena, the greatest temple to Athena that we know of, and that is at the Parthenon. So they built that temple specifically for worship of Athena. So she got that big old temple. The second is with the Panathenaea. Now, the Panathenaea was essentially a very large festival that took place over the course of about a month, and they did this annually as the Lesser Panathenaea, and every 4 years they did a Greater Panathenaea where they included many more events. And these events ranged anything from races to recitations of poetry and music. It just was a really great time over the course of a month. It was a wonderful way that they worshipped Athena, and also Erichthonius, who was essentially her adopted son, also the son of Hephaestus. While there are many myths surrounding Athena, I'm only going to be covering 3 main ones. The reason mainly for time. But the first one is very significant in that it is her birth, and her birth was especially odd even by ancient Greek standards. So what had happened is that Zeus, after having slain the Titans, decided to, what else, lay with the Titaness Metis. Now, after having done the deed, he got a prediction that the child born of Metis would eventually rival his power. So Zeus, not really liking this, decided to completely consume Metis. So he just ate her whole. He just, done. Now after this, though, he got a splitting headache, because not long after, Athena burst forth from his forehead, completely armored and completely grown. So yeah, that happened. Just a really odd birth story. So the second myth is that of becoming the patron deity of Athens. Now, the way this happened is that the people of Athens decided that they wanted to get a patron deity, of course. I mean, why wouldn't you want one? They decided to hold a contest. Now, the contest was between Athena and Poseidon. The contest was basically who could provide the best tribute for the Athenians. Now, Poseidon, being Poseidon, bubbled up a freshwater spring for the people of Athens, and it was great. Big hit. But Athena did him one better. What she did was she caused an olive tree to grow up in the Acropolis, and now, it may not seem very significant, an olive tree, but for the people of Athens, the olive tree had many, many uses, more so than what a freshwater spring could provide them, so they loved the olive tree, so much so that they made Athena their patron deity. And so that's how that happened. The third myth is basically a tale on why you should not challenge a god to anything, because you're basically going to lose no matter what you do. How this happened, there was a woman named Arachne, and she was a great weaver. She wove awesome things. She was amazing at it, so much so that she actually challenged Athena to a weaving contest. Bad move, because even though she won, Athena didn't like it and turned her into a spider. And so that's where we get the spider, Arachnid. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Thorsday focusing on Athena, and do please stay tuned for my other shows. Have a great one.